Mama G here, back from the Holy Land. I survived. And actually, it was pretty safe there, other than the AK-47s with the finger on the trigger. That was a little disconcerting. But anyway, we are back to it. And I'm going to go right to Samantha B doing her thing. And then Mama G will come in after.
Hello, this is Samantha B, and this is Fitness and Nutrition 101. Let's see here. The date is May 20th. Wow, weird. And we're just going to get things kicked off. So I don't know how this call is going to go. My dog is really sick. He's been having diarrhea inside my house. He really never has any accidents, but he cannot stop. And so between not getting very much sleep last night, trying to get him out, and he's still not feeling very good. Let's see what I can get through before he needs to get some attention, okay? So let's get right to it. So I wanted to go back into last week and just go over just a little bit of kind of touch base on some of the concepts that I had before I went over all the exercise stuff. So I want to apologize for people that don't like me taking content from conversations that we've had throughout the week. I don't mean it in a way to single you out or make you feel bad. I mean it in a way for you to understand on a larger scale that, one, you're not alone, that a lot of people have the same concerns or practice the same poor habits or have unrealistic expectations. And I usually use this platform to kind of just think out loud. And for me, this is what I do for a living. This is what I do as my job. This is what I work at every single day. So it's kind of like when you do your job, whether you're a mechanic or construction worker or nurse or teacher, and that's what you're really good at. So when you see things, it's like kind of black or white. Like, okay, this is how it's done when it comes down to this particular program. And yeah, there's some color and some gray when it comes to individuals, but really like the overall like program itself is kind of black and white. So I don't want you to think that I'm trying to make you feel bad or make you feel, I don't know, just not worthy, or you're not putting in enough effort. I just want you to understand kind of the 2 cents. So I did mention this multiple times, and I didn't want it to come across as rude, but I wanted to kind of explain myself a little bit more about this program not being for everyone. Now, one of the biggest reasons that this program isn't for everyone is that having to understand portion size and measuring and how to get macros to fit is actually really challenging if you don't do it. The learning curve is incredibly high because it does take some time. And if you're regularly going out to eat, you don't prep your own meals, it makes it even harder, right? Especially if you have other people that dine with you and you have to think about other people's meals. Yeah, that can be a pretty big challenge. Take it from me. I've been in this situation. But the education of your own nutrition and how much better you become after taking the time to measure out a quarter cup to a half cup of rice, or understanding a dry measurement versus a wet measurement, how to understand how to make sure that you're getting 5 ounces of baby carrots as a side for a non-starchy veggie. Like seeing that on the scale time after time, playing with it, trying to eyeball it, and then measuring it, and trying to get yourself to understand and learn that is so important. And unless you are ready for that, that's kind of what I'm getting at with it's not for everyone. On the other aspect of it, you want to do it. You can't want to do it because I do it. You can't want to do it because Regina does it, Mama G. You can't want to do it because your husband or your wife or your friend that you met does this program. You have to hear the intro call. You have to hear the expectations of yourself. And that is like, okay, this is a program that really resonates with me. They are talking about staying satiated through the day, having energy levels throughout the day, not relying on pills or potions in order to work out or to wake up or to actually lose the weight. They're going to use real food. They're going to use science-based evidence in order to calculate the amount necessary in order for you to apply this to your lifestyle. And then they're going to help me build and work into an exercise program that works for me. So if what you listened to on the intro call and the questions that you had when they got answered, that was kind of like your moment, like, okay, this is something that I want to go to. Now when you get a month, a 2 month, a 3 month, and that's where, okay, now it's like you're in. And we said right from the very beginning that give us the 3 months. Having the month, having the 2 months, having the 2 weeks or whatever it happens to be. If you don't give we made it 90 days for a reason. That's when we can start seeing some real only if you do weigh, measure, you understand the macros, only if you are getting regular output, only if you are understanding what your body needs when it comes to rest, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to sleep, when it comes to the nourishment. Why do we eat our snacks? Why do we have our meals broken up throughout the day? Why do we try to eat right when we wake up? Why do we not try to eat our biggest meal at night? Why are we not fasting for longer? Why are we fasting overnight? If you don't understand those questions, then those are questions that we need to start addressing. Now, if you are looking for a specific outcome, let's say it's, I want to remove, I don't want to go poop 4 times a day, which I would definitely not want to do that. I do not. Right. Once we establish that goal, your goal is just, okay, I'm feeling
There it is.
that's fine. But the initial goal is still something that doesn't get lost. It's like, I still want to maintain my goal of not going to the bathroom 4 times a day. So staying with me here, just because that goal might have been met and we've moved on from it, it doesn't mean that we detach from that goal, especially in these 3 months, because that's still when we look back at the overall program, it's like, well, initially I really needed to fix that gut distress, right? Or I needed to, or I was starving all the time because I didn't eat. Okay. I got headaches for countless amounts of reasons. Okay. You know, you name it, we've heard it. And I think that sometimes we get kind of lost in that. Once you join this, you tend to go straight to the weight loss, because we do ask for a weight loss entry at the end of each week. Now, I actually didn't even want to do a weight loss entry for a long time. And Mama G and I have come to the commitment that yes, we will do the weight loss once a week. The reason that I didn't want to do it is because I didn't want anyone to focus on their weight. I didn't want them to say, because in the last month I'm not feeling as good as I thought because my weight hasn't changed. Because that takes away from how good they actually really do feel internally, how good they really do feel in their workouts, how good they really do feel mental clarity and sleep and all the other things that for me, cannot be replaced by a pound or 2 pounds. When it's not like you have to compete at a certain weight, you're just looking to be healthier. So that's where you get kind of, what's the word, distracted by numbers. Now, are numbers great? Absolutely, they are great. And for some of us that have a lot of weight to lose, you bet I want to see that number coming down. I don't want people that carry 50 extra pounds or more to be holding on to that weight. That is the last thing that I'm looking to happen. But I want you to stay focused on why you were sick and tired of being sick and tired in the first place. Because that's what Mama G's lifestyle is all about. That you are sick and tired of being sick and tired. You addressed the issues that you were having. You decided you were going to start this new lifestyle change to become better for the rest. And it wasn't about what you lost. It was about what you gained. And if you haven't lost anything, then let's make sure that we address all the things that we initially had issues with starting with this program. And then you might remind yourself of things that you've lost, even though it doesn't matter, that because we're talking about stuff that you gained. And with the stuff that you gained is hopefully a little bit of self-appreciation, a little bit of self-improvement, a little bit of awareness in what you need on a physical standpoint, what you need on a intake standpoint, and how to like collaborate that together to a healthy lifestyle where you're becoming better and better. Okay, so I just wanted to touch up on that. And if you guys have questions or concerns or comments, please, I am open ears, ready to hear you, and very willing to make changes or turn you into a customized, give you a customized program. Whatever it needs to make you successful, I just want you to remind yourself that the experiment is an experiment. It is written that for a reason, but it only works if you've played the game. And if you haven't played the game as written out or as it was delivered to you by the intro, we don't have anything to stand on. Okay, we don't have anything to say. Okay, we know this doesn't work. We know we should try changing this, that, or the other thing. Unless we have concrete evidence that we've got this beautiful platform that now you've been eating this 50, 30, 20, your calories are staying right in range, your output is about at 100 to 300 calories a day. That means your overall caloric outtake and intake for the week is this. That's what we need to be able to grow off of. Now, one last thing that I want to mention is you started the program and maybe you lost some weight. And initially you told us that you did it because you did Mama G's lifestyle because you were sick and tired of being sick and tired. But then you started losing weight and you were more focused on the weight than everything else. But then once the weight started to either stop or slow down, either one, you stopped communicating, two, thought you had the entire program figured out, or three, I don't know, jumped off the face of the earth, you're missing out on the biggest part of the entire experiment, and that is that we add food. And you can't just add food out of nowhere, but as your metabolism starts to increase, starts to stoke, that fire starts to burn faster and faster, you're going to have cues. Your body's going to give you the signs, and those are the signs that Mama G's waiting to hear. Those are the signs that Samantha B is waiting to hear. Mama G, I'm starving. Mama G, I'm waking up. I can barely make it to my refrigerator to open the door before I scarf something in my mouth. Mama G, I finished my food and I'm still hungry, even though I've had 2 glasses of water. I finished all my non-starchies. I even added another 20 calories of non-starchies because I was so hungry. Samantha B, I'm tired in my workouts. I can barely get through. You know, I go for 45 minutes list and my heart rate starts to be good and then it starts going up. There are actual physiological cues that are going to be delivered to us, but only if you stay in the program. And I know you're used to these quick fixes like I'm going to do a juice cleanse and I'm going to lose 12 pounds and it's going to happen like this. Or I'm going to do a high protein diet and I'm going to cut carbs and my water weight's going to go down like this. You're going to see results. You're going to feel good because that part of your brain is telling you, I look good, I feel good, but in reality, you don't feel good. You don't have energy. Your workouts aren't feeling better. You're getting injured. You're having all these other issues. These are the things that we need to communicate, okay? So I just wanted to throw this out there because I think there was a little bit of hurt feelings from some people, even though I wasn't directly talking to one person last week. I was talking to a large variety of you. And if you think I was talking about you, I was. It wasn't to be mean. It was to help you guys see, help you guys understand that this program is definitely something that you need to invest in. And even if you, work 50 hours a week or you have 150 kids, you can do it. I know people that have done it. I know people that have really succeeded with this program and have been incredibly busy human beings. But if you don't have the tools, if you're still working through or you don't understand the serving sizes and how this is all done, it's really tough. And if you don't really want to do it, then don't. We're not forcing you to be here. You asked us to be a part of the program, okay? So I said I was going to stop like 3 times. Now I really am going to stop. I want to tell you that the push-up challenge at Life One by Samantha B is complete. We went 2 full months. So I want to shout out to Cara for asking us to do that. Running a program like that was super fun. There was some consistency, there was some progression, there was some regression, and we had a couple of clients that were really successful. I haven't heard from Cara, who asked me to do it. I haven't seen her on the Facebook page much lately at all, but if she has, it would be great for you to share your success with doing that. And then for those of the other people that were able to be consistent with that, we'd love to see your progression as well. All right. Working the program, fitness market, self-responsibility. Self-responsibility. Okay, so no matter where you are living the lifestyle, Samantha B's lifestyle, your own lifestyle, Mama G has her own lifestyle, even though it's all under the umbrella of Mama G's lifestyle, it takes a certain amount of self-discipline and self-responsibility, okay? There are going to be more than enough opportunities for you to have a cocktail. There's going to be more than enough opportunities for you to have a treat. But it's the opportunities that you take to make better choices is what's going to set you above those people that are working a program that is dedicated to health. Now, I'm the youth coordinator and sports specialist for the Noble Path Foundation. Our goal is to educate the youth about nutrition, to hopefully stoke some interest in understanding more about eating from the earth instead of from a factory. And so every year we do a event about it's called a High Five for Fitness, and it's about, I don't know, all day event. It's like 6 to 8 hours long, and there's different elements to it. We have what's called the Battle of the Schools. We have an element called Battle of the Gyms, and then the Battle of the Coaches. So we have all kinds of people participate from around our local community, and I design all the challenges, and I execute them all on the day of the event. And it's probably one of my funner days of the year because I used to do a lot of on the mic in front of groups a lot, and now I don't do it as often now that I'm in my own studio and I work with a smaller amount of people, which I still love, but it's just a little bit different to get in front of a bunch of people and talk and try to command an audience and so on and so forth. So there's definitely an element of fun for me. But it's also a great opportunity to, one, get out of my comfort zone and also get other people out of their comfort zone. And also kind of people watch a little bit about, I'm surrounded by all the gyms in our local community, which happens to be a pretty large number, and how they decide to take care of themselves on a day that's so long. Are they going to hydrate? Are they going to be taking pre-workouts? Are they going to be taking food? Are they going to be taking post-workouts? Are they going to, what are they going to be doing to take care of themselves? So there's all kinds of little facets that I'm able to kind of take in during this day and see what works the best for what teams and so on and so forth. So I'll give you my old big silver lining at the end of this. But so the beginning of this is a teacher's challenge, and all the schools in the local community are able to participate, and they are participating to win $500 for their PE program. And they have an option to have a fitness day hosted by myself, where we would go over first step quickness, vertical jump, and proper biomechanics for cutting to keep the female youth as healthy, and ACL repair prevention at a high. See, I'm repping my Noble Path Foundation baseball team. So it's super fun event. But I'll tell you right now, when a bunch of teachers that don't normally do regular exercise walk onto a football field with all kinds of gyms from the local community, they are as intimidated as humanly possible. And so the idea of the Teacher's Challenge is not to provoke this incredible exercise phenomena. It's just about getting them moving and having fun, and to listen to directions and to communicate with each other. So they're doing all kinds of fitness stuff. They're going through ladders. They're doing hula hoops. They're pulling sleds with actual school books in them, and they're doing exercise, but they don't even realize it. So he started the morning off introducing myself, kind of giving them the old, pep talk of, not to be intimidated, just to do the best they could. It wasn't about who was the fittest. And so I get the opportunity to talk to all these teachers from the different schools around the community, and they all kind of were really happy that I brought up and mentioned, hey, it's not about being the fittest. And that kind of gave them this like cooling effect. And they all were like, oh, I don't really exercise. Like, I don't blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, no problem, right? The end of the day, even during the 3 events that they participated in, they're laughing, they're shouting, encouraging each other. They're having a great time. But the reason that they're having a good time is because they're doing something good for their bodies, good for the people around them, good for their souls, and they're not getting hurt. They're seeing some of their limitations probably, but they're also seeing some of the stuff that they didn't realize they could really do. And they're starting to think, oh, I can do this. I can do maybe a little bit more than I'm doing right now. And hopefully for those of the teachers that do have a gym membership or do go to a fitness class or they're part of a studio, hopefully today when they went to the gym that they did approach their workout a little bit different, just by adding a little bit of confidence, doing something that was outside of their norm, outside of their own thoughts of what they could or could not do. So in there's self-responsibility or heightened awareness of what their body's ability was completely transformed. And not by doing a 225-pound deadlift. They did it by moving around. And that's what I encourage people to do if they are kind of just floating around in exercise. Just come in with a actual goal. Come in with something that you're actually working on. That's why I like people to come in for an idea when they're doing their cardio, like, all right, I'm going to be doing this today. This is my Monday. If I'm a regular exerciser, and I'm going to just stay in zones 2 and 3, I'm just going to stay in there for 45 minutes. I like the idea of having some type of purpose behind the workout so that you feel more accomplished when you're done. And also so by the end of the week, when you're pushing your moderates and your high intensity exercises, that you're not getting smoked. That not every day you're trying to run on the highest level possible when your body doesn't have that ability at this time. It may never have that ability because it never needs that ability. But when it gets the opportunity to say, hey, let's pump it 2 minutes, high zone, that it can. And it's not going to be broken down, then it's going to be prepared and ready. The next level of people, which I think is very interesting, is called the members. So this is called the Battle of the Gyms now. So gyms from our local community have asked members of their gym to participate in what's called a little fitness challenge. So this is demonstrating benefits of their fitness, about what they're doing in the gym, okay? And some people come into this and they are hyped. They got these serious warm-ups going on. They've got all kinds of like gear. They're repping their brand or their gym, and they're so proud of themselves. And I love that. Like I love some confidence of what they're doing. And then they start going through the workouts and they're really pushing themselves and they don't want to hold back. And they've got this attitude to just go hard. And a couple of these obstacle courses are really challenging. And if you don't start out a little steadier, you'll burn out towards the end. So you can tell the athletes that don't know how to really pull back, right? And so they've only got one kind of like speed, but that speed is full blast until it backs off till they die. So it's kind of interesting to see those athletes along with the athletes that are a little bit smarter. Maybe they played sports, maybe they participated in the events before, and they're like, oh yeah, that's going to hurt. If I have to start with that and I still need to be able to complete 3 more obstacles that have influences on my quads or my shoulders or whatever it happens to be, then I probably should gear it down. And watching the strategies unfold and watching how, the old tortoise and the hare. And then last but not least, we're in the elite division. So these are the coaches from the gyms from around the local community. And so the expectation is a little bit higher. It's the hardest of all of the fitness challenges. We add to them. They get a bit longer. The rep schemes become a little bit higher. And the members are there cheering them on. So there's a little bit more like that angst of like, oh, I show them how to train. Now they're going to watch me. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But I'll tell you the one thing that I think is the silver lining all in all, and that is your attitude. Your attitude not only shows through your confidence of movement, but it shows with the way that you correspond with other gyms and athletes and people around you. The event is brought around to raise money to give to schools for giving them some type of physical activity during the day. So it's not about being the best gym, although winning things is very cool. But there's a way to win and there's a way to lose and there's a way to compete. And there's a way to carry yourself around that has to do with being proud of yourself without putting down everybody else. So it kind of made me think about this program, and I've said this till I was blue in the face at the very beginning, and maybe I've kind of pulled back from this. I don't want you to think that any program is bad. I don't want you to think that doing organized boot camps or a studio work class or a personal trainer or a running program or whatever it happens to be, I don't want you to think anything is ever bad. Fitness, moving is awesome. And I would be calling the kettle black to say that I haven't experimented with all kinds of different studios, all kinds of different forms of exercise, all kinds of different coaches and trainers. But I'll tell you what the important thing is that I hope that you understand that Samantha B tries to relate to you guys. You need to understand the type of training that you are doing. So if you are doing actual strength training, or if you are doing resistance training with cardio, if you're doing cardiovascular training, if you're doing mobility exercises, if you're doing mobility with activation, core work, you need to understand what your workout class is offering you, what your trainer is offering you. And I want you to understanding that you need components of cardio, strength training, and mobility for the overall puzzle of becoming better for the rest. Now, if weight training is the only thing that makes you feel good, great. But I don't care how you feel today. I care how you feel in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and so on and so forth. I don't care that running is the only way that you feel like you can break a sweat, because I care about how you feel in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and so on. I don't care that mobility is the only thing that helps you release your mind, because I care about your body in 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 years plus. I want you to understand that incorporating an exercise regime, especially if you're not sports specific, should encompass strength training, cardiovascular training, and some type of mobility and activation and core work. Because by accompanying all three of these fitness macros, not only are you going to be able to identify your weaknesses, assess your body's progress, understand how your body works and maneuvers, that you will be able to understand what your body then needs or needs less of. The more we can understand about what we're getting offered, if we love it and we take a workout class and it's the best part of our week, I don't want you to get rid of that, but I want you to understand what it offers for you to complement you and what it could potentially do to threaten you to become better for the rest. Because there's always that happy medium of exercise, doing it enough and not overdoing it. There is so much to learn. There's so much out there to be offered. It's about you figuring out what works best for you. So you, like me, Samantha B, and you are, that didn't really rhyme. I was really going for a rhyme right there. But anyway, I want you guys to find something that allows you to become better for the rest. I am Samantha B, and you are better for the rest.
Great job.
All right, Mama G here. It is Monday the 13th. Back, survived.
Gee, Mama G. Okay. All right. Let's get back to you guys. And there we are. All right, beautiful job, Samantha B. Lots to say that correlates to you. So we'll just go forward. So back from Israel, a friend asked me for a word that, or a couple words that described my trip. And I said, overwhelming on every level. So I did write about it on my private Facebook page. If you want more information, you can go there. But let's just get going. I want to talk about the Mama G lifestyle is constantly evolving. So that's really important to understand, is that with each new client, with each group of clients, with as time goes on, with our experiences, with how people respond, are successful, fall off the wagon, all of those things kind of direct how we build the Mama G lifestyle. And as Samantha B said, she's living Samantha B's lifestyle, you're living your lifestyle, but it is called Mama G's lifestyle because Mama G has lived it and originated it. And it's important to really understand what that life has kind of looked like, given the fact that at 56, I'm faster, stronger, better than I've ever been in terms of my health and fitness level. So that's the ramification of being very cognizant of my food my entire adult life and exercising my entire adult life. Does not mean that at 70 years of age, you can't completely change the course of your trajectory, because you can. We saw it with cousin Christy at the age of 76. We see it with young people. We see it with older people. We see it with people in the middle. So that trajectory is important to change. And the only way that you change that is to come up with a game plan. And so the fact is that there are an infinite number of roads to get to your end goal. The end goal also is going to fluctuate from person to person. In Mama G's life, my end goal is to have lived a long, healthy, independent life, period, with the hope of ending up in heaven. That's Mama G's goal. But how I get there, the path that I take to get there, could vary tremendously. Samantha, we talked about, maybe you love group exercise, maybe you're a long distance runner. Everybody has, what exercise can look like in their life. There's no wrongs about it unless you're hating it, unless you're consistently getting injured. Those are things you need to consider in your workout regime in terms of, whether they're actually the best thing for you. And as Samantha B said, we have experimented on ourselves for, our lifetime. And I am happy to say that with the guidance of people like Samantha B and with my own education, and experiences, that, I'm at that point where I'm feeling like I'm doing things that are going to be productive instead of the opposite of that. So really important to understand, lots of roads to get there. But when we look at the nutrition side of stuff, sure, we know that there are lots of ways to do this, but we also know that very clearly, based on science, based on evidence, based on anecdotal, and based on what we're seeing, is that the ramifications of choosing unhealthy food, not having a game plan in terms of your food, not having education in terms of your food, are potentially harming you for the long haul. And that's really what matters here. So if you've come to the Mama G lifestyle, if you're here for a reason. And the hope is that you're feeling really good about your experiences with Mama G and Samantha B in terms of what your food is looking like. You're enjoying that nutritious and delicious food, that you're, looking at your fitness, and you've got that cardio going and that strength and that mobility, that you're taking advantage of all the tools we've given you. But it doesn't mean that we don't fall off the wagon. It doesn't mean that we fall out of our habits that we've established. And it doesn't mean that we don't succumb to all the pressures in life that keep us from doing things for ourselves and treating the body with self-respect. So it's really important to understand that the goal in the Mama G lifestyle is, as I said, consistently evolving how we how we get you that information. But what's important to understand is that there is you, and you have goals. Now, we might, you might come in not really knowing what those goals are, or we might help you to establish some goals that are smart. We talk about the goals that are smart, specific, measurable, attainable, SMAR, something else, and something else. But you know what I'm talking about. Samantha can always chime in here. She remembers what the R and the T are in the SMART goals. But the point being is that their goals is like, well, I want to do this, but there's no action. Like, you want to run a marathon? There's actually an action item. Number one, you better be eating really well. Number two, you better have a game plan for getting that marathon done by a certain date. And then you have to actually register for the marathon. You have to train, all of those things that happen. So we work with you. We help you to establish goals, short, medium, long-range goals. We hope that they really are your goals and not our goals, though we do feel like we help to kind of instill thoughts that you maybe never considered before. Like we always tell our clients, or I always tell our clients, maybe more than Samantha B, it's like you should have a fitness goal. I think it's really relevant to like have something. Like if you could barely walk across the street, maybe we can, try to walk a 5K with your friends, for a fundraiser for some event, right? Like use your fitness to do something productive for somebody else. So your goals. By the way, your medical practitioners, I cannot reiterate how important your medical practitioners are to your health goals. So let's talk about health goals as opposed to any other specific goals like running a marathon or climbing Mount Whitney or or becoming a physician or getting your master's degree. I'm talking about health goals, and I'm talking about medical professionals who are experts. So hopefully everybody at some point in their life has an internist. If you're a male, you will hopefully have a urologist. Some of us females need urologists as well. For us females, we might need an OBGYN. You might need a cardiologist or an internist, endocrinologist or a rheumatologist, or I've seen a neurologist. So there are medical professionals out there who are experts in their field of study. And so like Samantha B is an expert in fitness. And I'll tell you pretty much she can, if she doesn't have the information for you in your specific situation, she will get that information for you. And I feel extremely confident in saying that pretty much regardless of your situation via injuries, or if you're just starting off, or whether you want to do this, that, or the other thing in terms of your fitness, I feel really confident that Samantha B can help you. Now, in terms of being a lifestyle member or being an experimenter, that's not really part of the scope of those groups that you're part of, but she is available for your programming needs on the virtual or in-person level as well, regardless of where you live. So understand that she can really hold your hand to help you build a program that's specific to you and your goals beyond what you get from being a lifestyler or an experimenter, right? So that's important to establish there. Mama G is your resident nutrition expert. Now, for years and years and years as a fitness professional, with my bachelor's in dietetics, I felt very comfortable with working with my clients with their basic nutrition. Now, somebody had come to me saying they were diabetic, or somebody had thyroid disorder or other type of things, I would have absolutely referred them on. Now I have the tools and the education that I need to speak to those things, but I promise you, just like Samantha B would refer you out to an orthopedic surgeon or to see a a physical therapist perhaps, or a chiropractor if she thought you needed it. Mama G will do the same thing in your life when I might feel it's necessary for you to see an internist on a regular basis. Somebody that's kind of your quarterback. I like to talk about an internist as your quarterback who kind of coordinates your health care. I took my college-age daughter to our new internist. I established care with him in the fall. He is actually Lisa Photo's internist, and had met him at our gym where he trains, and just really liked everything she had ever said about him and her interactions with him as a medical professional. And I was able to get in to see him, and I had a very good experience, and I really trust him. So I established care with my 21-year-old with him, and he spent 1 hour in our appointment and asked her a ton of questions, and was very open to things that I had to say or questions I had and that type of thing. But the fact is he says, I care about your entire health picture. So we're going to make sure that we get this particular blood work. And this is the reason why we're doing it. I'm concerned about this, that, or the other thing. I'm really happy about this, that, or the other thing. So I felt really confident in bringing my 21-year-old to this particular internist, because I know he looks at the whole entire picture, which is really important to me. So, when Mama G and Samantha B ask in your application when you first come to us, a lot of questions, a lot of those things have to do with your personal medical past, also has to do with your genetic medical past, your parents and what their history looks like, your siblings, because all of those things matter in terms of you. It's because we care, and because we want to look at your whole picture in terms of your health. So there are many times I will ask you for new blood work, or blood work that you haven't had for more than a year. I might encourage you to go see a cardiologist or a rheumatologist or a gastroenterologist, depending on my client's situations, because it is beyond the scope of my practice. But you better darn well believe that I have a very good general sense of the whole picture here and why I would send you to those people. But I want you to really understand that they are experts in their field. And so I was doing a lot of referring to a particular cardiologist that I was seeing locally for my local clients. And I noticed that he started to delve into the area of fitness and nutrition. And I didn't feel comfortable with anything that he was saying to my clients. The way he was talking about a certain type of exercise, the way he was talking about certain type of eating regimen, they were counter to what I teach my clients and what Samantha B teaches our clients. And so I have stopped referring to him. Since then, I have now found a new cardiologist for myself, step one, and now I'm establishing my relationship with him. And the next time I see him, which will be in a couple of weeks when we go over some of my blood work, we'll be talking about his philosophy towards nutrition and exercise to make sure that we mesh. Because if I'm going to send somebody to him, I either need to establish with him that I would prefer that he doesn't discuss their nutrition and exercise, and we'll see his feelings about it. I do know that this cardiologist said to me as I was walking out the door that he'd love to have a conversation about nutrition with me, which I would love to have, because number one, I know what this guy does for his fitness, and number two, I know what he looks like, and number three, he said in passing to me about carbohydrates need to be limited. Crappy carbohydrates 100% need to be limited. I agree with that. But I will tell you right now, we're not necessarily limiting non-starchy veggies. We are portioning. We do have portion control for starchy grainy carbs. We do have portion control for our fruit. We do have thoughts in terms of when we use dairy, using the less saturated fat versions of them, when we use, different. So the carbohydrates, we need to reduce our intake of carbohydrates. I would venture to say we're going to have a conversation about that. That is not a blanket statement. I also heard the same statement coming from my internist. And, I think that when they feel like they say this to their patients, in their heads, they're saying, get rid of the crap, get rid of the processed carbohydrates. But they're not saying to them, you need to really increase your intake of whole grains and beans and legumes and fruits and vegetables and all of those things, which, by the way, are also carbohydrates. So realize that these medical professionals, the doctors that I'm talking about, have very limited education in nutrition. And so I really want you to understand that we're gonna push them a little bit if you're getting feedback in terms of your nutrition and your exercise, if that's not their expertise. So I like to work with all of your medical practitioners, so that we can help you reach your goal, or make moves towards hitting those short, medium, and long-term goals, with Mama G and Samantha B's goal of you living a long, independent, healthy lifestyle. Now, if that's not your goal, then don't tune into this channel, right? Like I always tell people, like, if you're not interested in what I have to say, you don't have to tune in. It's like DirecTV. There are 1,000 channels. I only tune into those things that are of interest to me, which are very few things. And it's really no different in the fitness and nutrition realm, multi-billion-dollar industry for a reason. There are lots of people out there. There are lots of plans out there. There are lots of paths out there. The question is, what is the end goal? And that's what you have to ask. And you have to ask what your end goal, if it meshes with the people that you choose to work with. My little Olivia is 6 months old now and just started eating real foods yesterday. And there's a ton of approaches with how you feed babies. You can go back to the old rice cereal and oatmeal, like my nephew Sebastian is eating. He's 2.5 months older than Olivia, and he's doing a beautiful job. And they're using his little pinchers on little Cheerios and carrots and things like that. And then on Mary's side of it, Mary's kind of doing things in a completely different way. Olivia's already eaten a banana. She ate eggs this morning. She had zucchini and sweet potato last night. And I don't know what else. So she's getting a plethora of things, and she's only had a few meals. Of course, she's only getting a little bit of that food. It's that which she can squish in her mouth, but she's starting to learn textures and different flavor profiles. And it's really fun to watch. It was great to watch Logan, even now, kind of playing with it. Logan ate everything, and then she had the toddlerness and then was a little more picky, and now Logan's coming back and eating more foods. So it's super fun to watch the two of them. But my point being with this is that pediatricians have very little, if zero, education in nutrition, and OBGYNs as well. So it really is concerning to me, especially after this last couple semesters. We spent a lot of time on pregnancy, nutrition during pregnancy, and nutrition for babies and toddlers, and as we go through the feeding process. And what I know is that, the gynecologist, the obstetrician, really at that point is, concerned about the mother's welfare and the baby's growth. All right, during the pregnancy. There is no discussion, and if you have discussion, I'd love to hear it with your obstetrician about the importance of your eating, number one, to fuel yourself and your growing baby, but that there is a ton of research talking about the foods that we eat when we're pregnant cross over into the placenta, and the baby actually tastes those things. The baby actually is able to smell those things as well. And there's been very interesting studies about that, and how important it is for pregnant women to eat a variety of foods so that the babies get the neonates or whatever, fetuses get exposed to those foods during the pregnancy. We also know that during nursing, that a lot of these foods, the flavors and the smells and the tastes cross over with the breastfeeding as well into the breast milk. So that's another opportunity to expose your child to a variety of foods. Now, if you have a mother who's very picky, if you have a mother who eats chicken nuggets and french fries and that's it, we're going to be limiting exposure to the fetus and then to the baby. That could otherwise be used in a really positive way in helping to improve the potential openness of feeding your child. So those are two things that are never discussed, not discussed by the OBGYN. And when we talked about the pediatrician, again, they have very, very little knowledge about nutrition. And so, I bet if you ask the pediatrician details about what's a carbohydrate and what's a protein or what's high in iron, they might have their basic things because those are the things they kind of come across with children. But if you were to delve into things, my hope is that they would refer you out to a certified nurse, nutrition specialist, or registered dietitian, somebody who is an expert in the field, so that you could do your best with feeding your child. When we start to see babies who have low iron or vitamin D issues or aren't getting enough protein, different things like that, we really need to make sure we give the parents the help they need to do better. And what it comes down to, folks, is role modeling. Because if we're not eating foods that are nutritious, we're likely not feeding them to our children. And by the way, you try to talk your kid into eating string beans and you're not eating them then yourselves, you're hard pressed to making that happen. So I wish and I hope, and one of the things that I hope to impact in the future is making and hoping that we can get more education to pregnant women and parents, starting with newborns, toddlers, and beyond, about the importance of proper nutrition, and that it really has to be role modeled in the home and provided for those kids, right? Because the babies aren't going out and shopping, and the toddlers aren't going out and shopping, and the little kids are not going out and shopping. So it comes down to us. So we have to take advantage of the experts, and there is a true role for fitness experts and a true role for nutrition experts out there. And that's why you guys have come to the Mama G Lifestyle in the first place. I'm going to just say a few things in closing, and then I'm going to talk more about this in the future. But, I want to talk kind of about my whole health history. My whole life, my mom would take me for my yearly checkups to the pediatrician. I think that kind of waned into my adolescence. Before I went to college, I know that I went to an OBGYN, which was the appropriate place to go for a 17-year-old starting college. My mom took me to the dentist every six months, my entire life. She really hated the dentist and had lots of teeth issues. So having teeth hygiene was really important to her. So she established that with me when I was very, very young. So I still go to the dentist every 6 months, and my kids go to the dentist every 6 months as well. And now my husband is thankfully starting to go to the dentist every 6 months. It was kind of once a year, and then less than that if he ran out of time. And Mark has a terrible mouth situation, but he's been doing a beautiful job in the last couple of months of taking care of his teeth and getting himself a nice, good set of choppers to take him through this next half of his life. But point being is, for me, I've kind of been an advocate. My sister was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 19, so I started to see a breast specialist very early in my life. And because of the fact that I had cystic breasts, I've had many biopsies, which kind of led me into a high-risk doctor because of my sister and to my breast composition that, had me having pretty extensive yearly exams, and then led me to a prophylactic mastectomy, which is where I now sit. So I have a breast specialist who I see on a yearly basis. I also obviously, having a baby in my early 20s is when I kind of established care, seeing a OBGYN on a regular basis. That was a no-brainer. Through all of those pregnancies, I also saw a reproductive endocrinologist because I went through infertility problems for a good 7+ years. So those were kind of my people, the experts in the realm of my life. Now, as an adult, I've had to look to other experts, established care with, some family practitioners. What I noticed with many of them, and what I've noticed with a lot of our clients here too, is that you may go in, you have no idea what you're supposed to be asking for. You're at the mercy of them telling you, oh, you need some blood work, or your blood pressure's high, or these kind of things. But it comes down to us actually listening to their advice, actually going to get the blood work, not, leaving the orders in your basket and never getting it done, or doing it 6 months later. It actually would require you to actually look at that blood work when the numbers come in. Nowadays, they have portals like attached. I go to Quest Labs, and I can actually look at that blood work and, see for myself there's any issues. I will tell you that my doctor's office, usually my new doctor does call, the doctor's office calls and says, everything looks good on your blood work, but the doctor would still like you to come in to go over some things. I never like to hear that. But, we noticed things like, that's where I figured out that I was low in vitamin D, and vitamin D is really critical for long-term health. So it was important to make sure that I dealt with that, being low on vitamin D, and we went through a replenishment plan, and now I have a beautiful vitamin D level. Doesn't mean it's going to stay there, but I am 100% religious about taking my supplements to make sure that I keep my vitamin D stores high. But what happened to me is I had some blood work in the fall with him, and for the first time ever, my cholesterol, my LDL, which is the losers, and my total cholesterols were over the threshold. Now, I have no idea how I missed that information, because, like I said, I have a portal, and normally I look at the information when it comes in. But somehow I missed it, and I knew that my doctor was concerned about my vitamin D, and we did this replenishment plan. So I went back 3 months later, which was a couple weeks ago, to have my vitamin D checked. And I now get my blood results. I also get a call from the doctor. And when I'm looking at the results, I actually printed everything out because I've had past year's history and I wanted to look at what happened here. My vitamin D was beautiful. That was awesome. But now all of a sudden I see red flags still on my cholesterol total, still on my LDL. And I now have an issue with low iron. Never in my life. Not only that, the day before I gave blood when my iron level was perfect, I went for my blood work, and my iron level was good enough to donate blood, but not good enough in the eyes of the doctor. And I was beside myself. I was more beside myself because of the cholesterol and the fact that I, Mama G, eat beautifully, incredibly, low on the saturated fat, low on the highly processed or no processed, very low sugar, all of these things that kind of drive exercise, strength train, cardiovascular, all these things that would drive cholesterol levels to be higher. And that's when you have to understand that there is a genetic component going on here. Now, of course, the doctor and I talked about that. Of course, we decided to send me to a new cardiologist to establish that as well. So I just had a big blood panel run called the Boston Heart Panel. So stay tuned in a couple of weeks when I get that information back, because Mama G is working through her own health history and her own genetics, which sucks. But more of a concern, by the way, and the reason my doctor called me in was because of my low iron. And I went in there, Mama G nutrition expert, with the, hey, give me 3 months. I know why my iron's low. I'm eating mostly plants. I've really cut out animal protein. And we know that the heme iron from animal protein is much more absorbable, and it's much more difficult to get your iron through plants. But I said, give me a chance. Let me do my research. Let me up my my plant-based iron. Let me do a little bit of job with eating more animal protein. And I would defer to a little chicken and fish more often. And he said, no. He says, today we're going to run some more blood work on you. He says, not only is your iron low, but I'm concerned about the size of your red blood cells, so microcytic blood cells, which all could be something very, very serious. It could also just be something that's more minor. But he wants to make sure, as the quarterback of the Mama G team, that he's covering all bases. So I went back down immediately, got my blood work. The nurse called me back the next day and told me that he wanted to start me on an iron supplement, and we're going to do it for 3 months because we know that based on this composition of iron that I should absorb, a normal human being will absorb the iron. So I am religiously taking my iron supplement every night with my vitamin D. I also take fish oil and magnesium. And in 3 months, believe me, 3 months a day, I will be back in there for my blood work. And the hope is that my body is absorbing iron well, and that we can just chalk it up to Mama G needing to get more iron with her food, because I don't want to be taking supplements if I can get it through my food. If Mama G is not absorbing her iron well, even with supplementation, then we're going to have to delve a little bit deeper into seeing what's going on with our bodies. Fact is that you have to pay attention to your body. And kudos to all of you for being part of the Mama G lifestyle. But remember that Samantha B and Mama G are always going to remind you. We're going to remind you that, taking care of yourself requires action. It requires getting that exercise in. It requires thinking about eating in a calculated way. It might require you doing some logging. It might require you using a heart rate monitor. But everything that we've established for you is manageable, fun. And the bottom line here, Samantha B, where are you? Is that we are looking out for you so that you can live a long, healthy, independent life. And so, since I don't see Samantha B, I will say it for her. Like Samantha B always says, you are better for the rest. And Mama G always says, it is not about what you lose, folks. It is all about what you gain. Have a beautiful evening.